Edition of NASCAR DFS preview. I'm AustYn with the Sports Chief, and we're doing this the morning of the race. So we have a Saturday race for the Cup Series at 3:30, and we're heading up to Long Pond, Pennsylvania for the Pocono Organics 325. This is the first race since the whole pandemic deal that we have actually exited the southern states. We're going up to the Pocono Mountains for a pretty short race, honestly. You know, there's only 130 laps in this event for Pocono. It's a 2.5 triangle. It's called the Tricky Triangle. And it's definitely a different style of racing than anything we've had so far. I know Indy's coming up soon. It's more like Indy. It's a relatively flat track. I don't have the specs for the banking like I did for Talladega right offhand, but it's pretty flat, really high speeds, but with the different horsepower package and things. Again, NASCAR is totally different than what it was even from a couple of years ago. You know, we had the high horsepower, and hopefully they can listen to their fans and bring back the high horsepower, low downforce cars, and we'll get some better racing rather than this pedal to the metal, and it's like glorified go-karts in my opinion. But it's still exciting nonetheless, and hopefully they'll put on a good show for us. So we did okay at Talladega. A lot of the drivers that finished up towards the front. We did have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who was my pick to win. He finished second and was very close. We also had Eric Almirola, who came in third, who came across the line, you know, backwards, or sideways. So that was pretty cool. But Pocono is definitely one of my better tracks to pick for DFS. One thing to note about this race, they are running a doubleheader. Trucks are running at 12, noonish. Cup Series run at 3:30. Then they're going to run tomorrow, and the car that they race for today in the Pocono Organics 325 will be used for the next race, or if they wreck, NASCAR has to approve their backup car. That's pretty big. And being that they're in Pennsylvania, and with all the rules and regulations and stuff, it's going to be hard for the teams from Charlotte to bring that car up. I'm not sure how that all works. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But I know that a lot of your bigger name teams, they may be a little more aggressive than, say, the lower budget teams. So that's one thing to note. Also, Toyota has won the last 5 races here. So Toyota has complete dominance here. Ford is okay performance-wise, but Toyota, Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch has won 3 of the last 5. Of course, Denny Hamlin's won 5, and he leads active drivers, so that's a stat to keep in mind. Again, this is a lot of my strategy, so I go up based off of history. Because we don't have practice speeds, we don't have qualifying, all we have is past events, and that's really all we got to look at. So yeah, let's go ahead and see what DraftKings has to offer for us, and let's take a look at it. So Christopher Bale is our most expensive driver. Again, DraftKings has changed the way they're doing salaries, for sure. They're trying to make it a little more difficult on you, and, you know, otherwise Christopher Bale will be in the 8s or 7s in terms of salary, but he's at 11-1. Now, remember, Christopher Bale was like my first pick last week. Anyway, so Chase Elliott starting in 5th at 10-7. Joey Logano starting in 6th at 10-4. And Kevin Harvick is starting in 9th at 10-1. So we have 4 drivers, 10K and above. Your typical slates, you got about 6 or so. So that's interesting. We're cutting back on the 10K guys for sure. Since this is not a slower race, but a shorter race, sorry to say that, but it's 130 laps. Laps led will not be that major of a factor. With that being said, Christopher Bale is a decent choice. Christopher Bale more than likely will get a top 15 finish, which you're looking at about 20 points for passes. You get 1 point per pass. So if he finished 30th, he'd get 6 points plus the 30th place finish. And I need to have that memorized as far as the tiers of the. I know like first is 46 or 45, second's like 42. Plus, you get your laps led and fastest laps, half a point for a fastest lap. But we're running fewer laps. So if Christopher Bale, if you really think he's going to get a top 5 or something, that's a pretty tempting choice. I, however, am not going to go that route. I did my research. Christopher Bale is pretty good at this track. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that 95 car is... I think they're going to be taking a conservative approach for this event, for sure. Like I stated about the single car teams. I know he has Joe Gibbs Alliance, but I don't know if Bob Levine wants to bring out the backup car for the next race. That's a lot of money down the drain. And NASCAR is, like everyone else, it's pretty tough right now. So anyway, my first pick for this race will be Brad Keselowski. So Brad Keselowski is starting in 8th. I'm going with Brad. History tells me that Brad Keselowski has 20 starts. He has 12 top 10s. He's won here once. His average finish is 11.1. And with those 20 starts, you have 12 top 10s. That's pretty solid. And he had a bad finish a few races back. And other than that, his worst finish was like 23rd out of his whole career. And him being an 8th, I feel like, a top 5 is pretty imminent. I think that he's going to be a contender, and I look for Brad to be a great pick at that 9,900. I love getting that guy for under 10K. Because if you look at history, he's one of the better ones, especially consistent drivers. There's only 2 other drivers that have better average finishes, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But as far as the veterans go, he is the best driver here in terms of consistency. Now, we have, and let me scroll up just a little bit here. That way you can see my salary. Sorry about that. So the average remaining salary I have left is $8,000. As you know, you have $50,000 to spend. So picking Brad, that cuts it off a little bit. So if you scroll on down here, the field fillers are not going to be relative options this week. Honestly, I wouldn't even consider anyone up until the Michael McDowell point, which I don't even like that number there either. So, looking at this, there's one driver here that's actually towards the bottom, which really shocks me. And he's got a really good starting spot, and that is Erik Jones. Erik Jones is $7,100. He's starting in 19th spot. Let me tell you a little bit about Erik Jones. Erik Jones has 5 top 10s and 6 starts. Toyota, like I said, has been dominant here. They've won the last 5. Erik Jones has performed in the Joe Gibbs Racing engines every single time, and I like Erik Jones. So at $7,100, Erik Jones is a great option. Probably will be chalky, but I think you need him in your lineup for sure. All right. So with 8,200, 8,250, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off at Nemechek. So I don't really like Priest or LaJoy. I'm going to cut it off at Nemechek. I truly believe Pocono is a horsepower racetrack. I think that is very important to have a good engine program. I know the truck series is coming up soon, and I have made my lineup for that. We don't do that for the sports chief as far as showing the lineups, but one thing that I noted, I wanted trucks that have the capability of winning a race. Not necessarily the driver. Yeah, I know that sounds really weird, but I really want fast cars for this track. So, Ty Dillon starting in 34th. He's at 7,200. That looks like an attractive option, and while he may finish 25th, he's not an option for me. So, like Daniel Suarez in 37th, Daniel Suarez is not an option for this track. The Gaunt Brothers Racing team is not going to perform that great here. Ryan Newman starting in 13th. That's way too high. Therefore, I'm down to 4 drivers. So, John Hunter Nemechek has actually been performing pretty well here as of late. He's starting in 20th. I think he could get a top 20. I think it's pretty likely. Austin Dillon starting in 17th. Top 10 is possible. Top 15 is more likely. Cole Custer starting in 25th. And Chris Buescher starting in 24th. So, that's the 4 I'm looking at. Buescher he has actually won here before, but other than that win, he's not been that great. And Cole Custer, let me tell you a little bit about Cole Custer now. Cole Custer has actually started here 3 times in the Xfinity Series and has top 10s in every single start. He has won here once. He won here last year in the Xfinity Series. Cole looks like he might be okay here. He did have a cup start here in the 51 car, I believe. But, it's pretty much down to Cole Custer or Chris Buescher for me. And I think Cole Custer will perform pretty well. I'm taking a chance and thinking that Cole Custer could get a top 15 here. This is a track that fits his style. It's the thing about Pocono, and this may be a little different to say. I don't know that pit stall strategy is that important. It's such a big track. It's 2.5 miles. I think it's more important about long run speed and conserving your tires. Track position is very important as well. And I think Cole Custer getting a top 20 is pretty likely. Just with Erik Jones. I mean, Erik Jones has 5 top 10s and 6 starts. I mean, if he gets 12th for me, that's a great option. Because I'm looking for drivers that could win this race. Erik could win. Cole Custer, could he win? I mean, it's possible. Highly unlikely, probably. But I still like him in that option. And he's just better. He's better than DiBenedetto. He's better than Dillon. He's better than, any of those other options, or Buescher. So that left us with $8,866. And according to history, I'm going to have to go with my other option here. And I'm sorry, guys. This is just the way I'm going off of. And this is my inklings as well. William Byron. So if you look here, I'll cut it off at Ricky Stenhouse. So you have Ricky Stenhouse in 14th, Kurt Busch in 7th, Bowman in 10th, Byron 16th, Kenseth in 22nd. Now, attractive options as well. Jimmy Johnson or Clint Bowyer in 18th, and Truex in 11th. This is the tier I'm kind of looking at here. Now, there's a couple drivers in this tier that don't deserve to be there, and that's why I'm going to call out DraftKings here. So William Byron is starting in 16th. William Byron has 3 top 10s and 4 starts. His average finish is 9.2. Now, I do feel really good about William Byron. For the same reason I feel good about Cole Custer. There's a little less pressure at this track. It's just a little different. It relies more upon horsepower, and I really like William Byron there. I like him a lot better than Matt Kenseth. William Byron could get his first victory here. He's looked pretty strong in the past races, for sure. So that's what I'm going with there. And now that leaves me with $9,100. I am so pumped about this because this is where I just know I've got DraftKings on this one. So if you want to go all the way up to the top, if you go Christopher Bale, you have $7,100 to spend, and you've got to go one of these 3. You got to go Busch or Dillon or Nemechek. So that's, my strategy. I'll probably, if you're making your lineup, don't pick Bale first. If you have enough money to go with Bale after you've made your lineup of the drivers that you want, go with him. But I'm not. If you want to go Chase, gives you $7,500. Gives you a little more playroom with Tyler Reddick. If you really think Tyler Reddick is good here, I don't think this is a track that's well suited for him. I think he could finish well, but I think it's not as much of a driver's track, which suits Tyler Reddick. So, and if you think Chase Elliott will win, that's a pretty good option. Joey Logano, you have $300 more. You can get Bubba or DiBenedetto. No way at all. And if you go Kevin Harvick at 10-1, you have $8,000, which, hey, you got Kurt Busch in there, Stenhouse. So that's a little better. I would cut it off at Truex and down. So if you go Truex, you have 85. You can go Bowman. I don't think Bowman's a bad option. Bowman has got like a 3rd place finish, but other than that, he's kind of in the teens. Again, I picked Erik Jones, I picked Cole Custer, I picked William Byron. I feel very confident that they're going to finish ahead of where they started. Therefore, I'm not too worried about picking a guy starting way in the back and working his way up towards the front. I'm looking for dominators in this event. I've already picked Brad Keselowski. I just felt like he is my guy. He is probably my choice to win the race. I haven't looked at the odds just yet. But Brad Keselowski is so good here, it's hard to pass that up. I'm going with Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is starting in 4th. DraftKings, man, they gave us Kyle at $9,300. What are they doing? Are people not going to catch that? Kyle Busch has won 3 of the last 5 races here. He's a dominator, and in 4th place, it's very likely he's going to be hanging around there. I think it's most of the time when you win at Pocono or you're up front, you're starting up front. Eric Almirola's not going to stay there long. Ryan Blaney may. But then again, look at this. I got Denny Hamlin. I could choose Denny Hamlin. A guy's won here 5 times. Okay, well, I've got Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski, and not to mention Erik Jones, Cole Custer, and William Byron. I've got all 6 guys that are in the top teams of NASCAR: Joe Gibbs Racing, Stewart Haas, Team Penske, and Hendrick Motorsports. I love it. This is like one of my favorite lineups I've ever made. All right, so let's just go ahead and clean it up. And folks, like I said, you could even go Truex and like Bowman, and that still great. You still got a Hendrick Motorsports guy and a Joe Gibbs guy. It's totally insane. They're not tricking us with Christopher Bale. I'm just telling you that right now. They're not tricking the sports chief. All right, so we got Brad Keselowski, we got Kyle Busch, we have Denny Hamlin. My mind is blown that we can get those 3 guys and still have pretty decent money. Erik Jones at 71. Excuse me, skipped a great driver at William Byron at 84. Erik Jones at 71 and Cole Custer at 64. So there you have it, folks. Get a sip of my morning coffee there. And I don't know. Looks pretty wild to me. I feel pretty good about this one, especially with the fact that if you wreck, you have to go to a backup car, and you have to start towards the tail end of the field. Therefore, it sets us up. If these drivers don't perform well, then tomorrow's going to be insane, because they're going to start according to the way the finishes happen. Of course, I believe they're inverting the field from 20th to 1st. So it'll be interesting to see. I think tomorrow is going to be really tough. Today looked like it was... they made it a little tough. I mean, DFS is not easy for sure, but I am psyched about this one. I feel very good about it. If you like what you see, check out our website at www.thesportschief.com. Right now we're doing a cool series called Challenge the Chief. It's a Monday quiz that we put out. Garrett puts it out there, and you have to challenge, see if you got better knowledge about basically anything. We do sports, entertainment. See if you can beat us there on that. He's also got an NHL logo article series going on. Yox is also doing some AEW, WWE stuff, power rankings, and my sections in NASCAR. I basically do the videos here. And we also do Song of the Day every week. So if you want to wake up, have the Sports Chief, we'll broaden your musical interest. How about that? So if you like what you see, subscribe to our channel, please. You'll get more great content like this. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification. That way you know when I upload the video. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask us. We have a lot of outlets. We have Instagram as well, Twitter. I think I've already mentioned that. But anyway, best of luck to you all doing your NASCAR DFS lineups. We have a lot of racing this week. We have the truck race at 12, Cup race at 3:30. Tomorrow we have Xfinity and Cup. I'm super psyched. So I hope you enjoy and have a great weekend.